episode number 5 in my series Intro to Improvising. Today I want to go over a couple of techniques that you could use in your playing to make your solos sound more melodic. These are things that professionals use when they're on stage and have to think very, very quick on their feet. So, the first one I want to go over is what's called a pivot. Sometimes I've heard it called octave displacement, and that's because you're going through 2 different octaves when playing a chord. So let's take a look at an arpeggio for a second. Let's look at the G7. So you got a G, B, D, F. So instead of hitting this G, the root, you hit it down here on the B string 8th fret, and then you finish the arpeggio an octave below. So you're still hitting the same notes with the arpeggio, but it's on a different octave, and therefore it's a little surprise to the listener, and you can do a whole assortment of things when you take this approach. Now remember, you don't have to use just the one note down here. You can go. Or you can go. Something like that. So you hear how I'm using that trick that we've gone over the half step below. So I'm going F sharp to G, straight down to the B. But then I'm also picking up the B again here. See? It's just a tool to make yourself sound more melodic. But now, you hear I could change chords real easy. I went over to a C major, and in a 2-5-1, that would be an important step to take. So then you can go. So that's a dominant G7. If you wanted to do a major 7, let's look at the C major 7. So you'd go. You got C, and then I'm hitting the E on the D string on the 14th fret. G on the 12th fret on the G string, and then the B on the B string 12th fret. So that's something you could do for a C major. And then you could even go from the C here, different approach here. So let's look at a D minor 7. That's still a pivot. So you go in from the C on the 13th fret, B string, D string 12th fret, and then you go into the 10th fret on the G and B string, and you're hitting F, A. And that's still a pivot. So all those tricks that we've been learning along the way, the half step, they can still apply. Anywhere that you're playing, you can use those. So that's what's called adding chromaticism to your solo. So if I wanted to, I can go like this and give a little motion to it. And what I'm doing is starting on the B string, starting on A, and just walking myself up to the C, and then going down to the D, and following the arpeggio. And that's just chromatic notes that you're adding to it. They don't really follow the scale, but they give a little motion. They're going, a little higher, and then when I go lower, it's a contrast. So those notes are higher, lower, a little contrast, so it doesn't get boring. So now, what can we do with all this? Another common technique in jazz, for example, is what's called an enclosure. So let's look at a C major 7, and we'll use the C as the target note. An enclosure is just going below and then above the target note and then landing on the target. And there's a couple of approaches that you could take. So you can go half step below, half step above, target note. So B, C sharp, C. That's an enclosure. Or you can go, for example, the B, D, C. So you're still on all scale notes. That's an enclosure. Or you can go the opposite direction. You go D, B, C. Now you don't want to do that through the entire solo, but it kind of gets repetitive. But when you add it in, like here's an example. That's, now you get the D, B, C. And this just adding a little motion to it. Now, if you wanted to, you can use a little chromaticism and go. So that's the D, back to the D here, C sharp, C. And that's just a chromatic passing tone, so it's another way to play it. And these enclosures can really add some good notes to it. Like this. Using the C as a target note. It's a cool little tool. It takes a little while to get used to. So one helpful tip is to go through the actual arpeggio. So let's look at like a C major 7 still. So you got C, E, G, B. You can go. And do enclosures around the whole arpeggio. That's just a cool little way to get used to doing them. Get them into your ears. But I'd recommend going through the whole scale. Maybe make them sound cool like that, or however you want to do it. Add different rhythms to it, but kind of get them into your fingers, get them into your ears. This way you start thinking about it when you're soloing. So here is another cool little pattern. These little little 4-note sequences are called Coltrane patterns, is how I hear them called most often. And they're just quick little, you've heard of the pentatonic scale, it's being 5 notes. This is just a 4-note sequence. Like that was a C major. D minor. And G major. These got popular with jazz and improvising musicians because they're usually clustered really close together. And you can kind of just keep them going. So a good way to practice these, and I'll put the patterns up here. So this is a D minor, D minor, G. Here's another E minor. Then we got C. And you can go this route, you can go F. Or an A minor. They're all over the place, and so let's turn on that 2-5-1 backing track, and I'll show you a good way to warm up with them. Is just go through the chords. So that's a good habit to get into whenever you're learning a song, to go through the whole song and kind of get the scales into your fingers. So you got the D minor here, so you got D, F, G, A, then G over here is the G, A, B, D, C is the C, D, E, G, But a good habit is to go through all the chord changes and the scale that you're going to play over that chord, get that into your playing, get that into your fingers, and try to find ways to connect notes, otherwise known as voice leading. And we'll go into that, what that means, into future episodes. So for now, that would be a good 2-5-1. As you can tell from just my little goofing off here, there's so many different patterns that you can play inside of them. So have some fun with them. I'll have a PDF link in the description so that you can get these patterns and have the PDF for it and take a look at it so you can remember it. They're just fun little tools. Everything that we're doing is just tools that we're adding to our little toolbox so that when the time comes, we're on stage or with some friends, we're just reaching into this toolbox at the right time and getting the right tool, and boom, making everyone happy. So I hope you find these techniques useful in your playing. Next week we are going to go over the Lydian mode, which is the 4th degree of the major scale. And I'll give you a couple of examples to go over with that. So until then, I hope you have a wonderful day. Oh, and if you like this video, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and share it with some of your friends that you might like. So until next week, I hope you have a wonderful day.